Now that we understand the basics of transferable letter of credit, it's time to look into some of the critical issues related to it. We will begin with Subarticle 38. Subarticle 38 is the foundation of Article 38. It defines transferable credit, transfer credit, transferring bank, first beneficiary and second beneficiary. In Part 1 we have learned that transferable credit means a credit which specifically states that it is transferable. The same paragraph continues to read, a transferable credit may be made available in whole or in part to another beneficiary second beneficiary at the request of the beneficiary first beneficiary. It means, for example, a transferable LC covering 100 tons of wheat may be transferred either for 50 tons of wheat or 100 tons of wheat. While the subarticle is apparently unconditional, in fact, it depends on whether partial shipment is permitted or not. This rule is explained in Subarticle 38. A credit may be transferred in part to or more than one second beneficiary provided partial drawing or shipments are allowed. Thus, if partial shipment is not allowed, it can be transferred to only one second beneficiary covering the entire goods only. That is 100 tons of wheat. However, this time we will highlight some other issues here. Transferring bank means a nominated bank. An issuing bank may be the transferring bank. The last line of this paragraph answers this. The issuing bank may be a transferring bank. Apart from the above, there is another possibility that a LC may be available with any bank, meaning any bank may be a nominated bank. It technically allows any bank as a transferring bank, and this may lead to big chaos. UCP600 has a specific provision to address this issue. Transferring bank means a nominated bank that transfers the credit or, in a credit available with any bank, a bank that is specially authorized by the issuing bank to transfer and that transfers the credit. An issuing bank may be the transferring bank. Okay, great. Here is a quick question. A transferable letter of credit is available only with the issuing bank. The first beneficiary requested to transfer the LC. Must the issuing bank transfer the LC? No, as per Article 38. What it means is that if you receive UCP720 a transfer letter of credit, you cannot further transfer it to a second beneficiary. However, there may be occasions where the second beneficiary is unable to perform under the LC. In such cases, the second beneficiary may return the transfer credit to the first beneficiary. In such cases, the first beneficiary is not to be considered as a subsequent beneficiary. One of the most complicated parts of transferring a credit is the transfer of an amendment. Subarticle 38 is the governing rule here. What does this rule say? Amendment is a common feature in LC. However, a first beneficiary may not always want to advise just any amendment to the second beneficiary. The best example could be an amendment for expiry extension. It's quite common that the first beneficiary reduces the expiry in the transfer LC to keep the second beneficiary under pressure. If any expiry extension is advised to the second beneficiary without this adjustment, the interest of the first beneficiary may hamper. You may think of many other possible examples. What does this rule say? Subarticle 38 addresses this issue. We can break down the subarticle in the following parts. 1. First beneficiary has the option to choose whether to advise an amendment automatically without its consent or not. 2. The first beneficiary must make this choice at the time of transferring the original LC. 3. The transfer credit must clearly mention the first beneficiary's choice on advice of future amendment. The problems with amendment even get more complicated when there is more than one second beneficiaries are involved. If LC is transferred to more than one second beneficiaries, each transferred LC virtually becomes an individual undertaking. Thereby, each second beneficiary gets the right to accept or reject a transferred amendment for his part of LC. Let's have an example. A transferable LC for USD 1000.00 has been transferred to two second beneficiaries, namely X and Y, for USD 500.00 each. The expiry of the LCS is set as the 31st of December 2012. Later, the transferring bank advised a new expiry date as the 30th of November 2012. Beneficiary X accepted the amendment while beneficiary Y refused it. Therefore, for the beneficiary X, the new expiry date is the 30th of November 2012, while for beneficiary Y the expiry remains unchanged. One of the unique features of transferable LC is the ability of the first beneficiary to alter certain contents of original transferable LC. 600 UPC subarticle 38 allows 5 things that may be either reduced or curtailed. The amount of the credit, any unit price stated therein, the expiry date, the period for presentation, or the latest shipment date or given period for shipment. Let's look into them one by one. Now a question. Can any other terms and condition of the original letter of credit be changed? UCP600 Subarticle 38 reads the transferred credit must accurately reflect the terms and conditions of the credit. So the precise answer would be no, and the 5 things that we mentioned are indeed the only things that may be reduced. However, in reality, there are few others in fact. For example, or even the name of the applicant. It may even be possible to change something which is not mentioned in the UCP. For example, if the original transferable LC allows partial shipment or transshipment, it may be possible to prohibit partial shipment or transshipment in the transferred LC. It would be a particularly interesting calculation to see how the percentage of insurance coverage can be increased to match the original LC. Let's have an example. Imagine that the original LC requires minimum insurance coverage, as per Article 28, which is 110%. If the insurance clause is kept unchanged in the transfer LC, the second beneficiary would submit an insurance document for USD 990 only. But if the first beneficiary substitutes the invoice for full LC value, minimum insurance requirement would be USD 1100 and there will be a shortfall. To avoid this problem, the first beneficiary may either provide the extra insurance from its own pocket or may increase the required percentage of insurance in transfer credit. The formula to find that percentage is as follows. If we apply this formula in our example, the transfer LC will have to ask for insurance coverage of 122%. One of the important addition of UCP600 in relation to transfer LC is Subarticle 38. The aim of the subarticle is to offer the first beneficiary a guaranteed opportunity to substitute the documents. However, as per ICC Opinion TAR 632, if LC is transferred for 100% of its value without retaining any margin for the first beneficiary, the transferring bank may allow the second beneficiary to submit the document directly to issuing bank. To avoid confusion, the transferring bank must mention this in the transfer LC and inform the issuing bank accordingly.